So there's been a lot of talk this offseason about how the Eastern Conference this upcoming season is going to be wide-ass open. And there's been talk about, the Pistons maybe breaking through and making a run, maybe the Orlando Magic after they just added Desmond Bane. What about the Atlanta Hawks, though?
I mean, it's crazy. 2 years ago, this team looked dead in the water. You had that awful DeJounte Murray trade. Trade rumors were going on. Now I wouldn't be surprised if they made the conference finals.
Before we start talking about the Hawks, if you haven't already, make sure this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. But first, a word from the sponsor of today's video, DraftKings. Guys, football season is right around the corner. We're smack bang in the middle of the NFL preseason, and college football kicks off their regular season in less than 2 weeks from Dublin, Ireland, for some reason. Oregon win it all, by the way. This is this is definitely our year for sure. We're getting it done this year. And with football almost back in full force, our partners over at DraftKings have got you covered. Right now at DraftKings, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use your $200 on same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout, play game by game, or even play by play, whatever fits your style. And if sports betting isn't available in your state yet, not a problem. You can still get in on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use our promo code Synthetic and get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Once again, that's promo code Synthetic only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And thank you again to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video. So the Hawks have been an interesting team for the past half decade. After their 2010s core of Jeff Teague, Al Horford, Paul Millsap, and Kyle Korver were either traded away or left the team in free agency, the Hawks had one really bad year before landing the 3rd overall pick in the 2018 NBA draft. And on draft night, after the Suns and Kings whiffed with their first 2 picks, they landed Luka Doncic with the 3rd overall pick, only to immediately trade him to the Dallas Mavericks for the 5th pick, Trae Young, an unprotected 2019 first-round pick. By the way, I looked into it. That pick would convey the next year, and it became Cam Reddish. Honestly, the best available player remaining in that draft was Tyler Hero, and even if the Hawks had taken him, this trade still wouldn't have been worth it. So you miss on a generational prospect like Luka. But that being said, the Trae Young era got off to a pretty great start after a couple years of building. He had Trae's first 2 years where he showed he had the makings of a future potential superstar, and even though they missed on Reddish in the 2019 draft, they did swing a draft day trade that sent Jackson Hayes and Nickeil Alexander-Walker to New Orleans in exchange for DeAndre Hunter. They also did well in the 2020 draft, landing Onyeka Okongwu with a 6th overall pick, and it was the 2021 season when the Hawks had their big breakout. They won 41 games in the COVID-shortened year, got the 5th seed, beat the Knicks in round 1 in 5 games, shocked the 76ers in round 2 before falling to the eventual champion Milwaukee Bucks in the conference finals. It was an unbelievable season for the Hawks, and in recent times in the NBA, we've kind of gotten used to a Cinderella team popping up out of nowhere like it's March Madness and making it either to the conference finals or even the NBA finals. I mean, the Pacers did it twice in back-to-back years. Dallas did it in 24, the Heat did it in 23. The Hawks kind of did it before it was cool.
Yeah, this Hawks team came out of nowhere. They had 8 guys averaging double digits in the playoffs, just got hot at the right time, and nobody really saw them coming. In an era of parity, it's becoming more and more common to do what they did, but they did it before everyone else was doing it, just came out of nowhere for that conference finals run. So going forward, even in a crowded Eastern Conference, it was thought the Hawks were gonna be one of the contenders. In the East, you had, a young Trae Young, but they regressed big time in 2022, winning only 43 games in a full 82-game season. That only got them the 9th seed. They did beat the Hornets and Cavaliers in the play-in tournament to make the playoffs, but even then, they were beaten by the Heat easily in 5 games. 2023, basically more of the same. They trade for DeJounte Murray, send out all those draft picks, and you regress, only winning 41 games. Again, you're in the play-in, fighting for your life. They did shock the Heat in Miami to get the 7th seed, and they pushed the Celtics to 6 games in kind of a shocking, deep game-winning 3 by Trae Young in Boston, but that was overshadowed by a 4th quarter collapse in game 6. And then out of nowhere, before all that happened, in the play-in game versus Miami, before the game happened, you had that shocking report that they were potentially shopping Trae Young. Just, it came out at the weirdest time.
As he was literally out on the court warming up for the game. It's again, we've said this in a bunch of other videos, stuff doesn't leak out in the NBA unless somebody wants it to. So somebody in the Hawks organization or around the NBA or whatever wanted reports to leak out that Trae Young was getting traded, and they chose to do it right before the fucking play-in tournament. That is brutal timing. 23-24 got even worse though. The Hawks won only 36 games, and yeah, again, who cares? They made the play-in tournament and they were beaten by the Chicago Bulls rather easily. Like, it's one thing to get beaten by the Heat, in a 5-game series, but you lose by 16 to the Bulls in the play-in tournament. I mean, what an embarrassing way to go out. And it was around this time that we made a video basically saying the Hawks need to just cut their losses and start over. I mean, at this time, it appeared that the 2021 run of the conference finals was the exception, not the rule for this core of players. And while Trae and DeJounte Murray didn't have a ton of trade value compared to other stars, like, we thought it'd just be better for them to completely start over. And then something interesting happened. The Hawks won the 2024 draft lottery. They had a 3% chance to do so, and they jumped all the way up to number 1, the 6th biggest jump to the first pick in NBA history. Now, while this was an objectively good thing for the franchise, it kind of further complicated like what direction they were going in. Like, they still had Trae, DeJounte Murray, some other solid players remaining from that Eastern Conference Finals team, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella, but you also had young guys that were like developing well, Jalen Johnson, Okongwu, and now you're bringing in the number 1 pick, Zachary Risachet. Like, you kind of had like a 2-track system going here, but it was weird because the tracks weren't that far apart, Like, it wasn't like when the Warriors tried to do the 2-track thing and you had, Steph, Clay, and Draymond all like in their mid to late 30s, and then Poole, Moody, and Kuminga who were all really young. Like, Clint Capella was the oldest of the quote-unquote veterans, and he was 30.
Yeah, and then over the course of the 2025 season, they just fully committed to that young core outside of Trae. A few weeks after the draft, they just had a home run, trading out DeJounte Murray to the Pelicans in a package headlined by Dyson Daniels in 2 first-round picks. I mean, that's just the trick. You trade DeJounte Murray, you get back some insane haul, I guess.
It's this one weird trick to succeed in the NBA. Right. Ring up the Pelicans.
You feel for Murray. I mean, he did unfortunately go down with a torn Achilles early in the season, but Dyson Daniels, bro, like...
Yeah, what a year.
He was a guy, I wanted Shaedon Sharpe first, but I liked his game because he was a defensive guard and he had a breakout defensive season. Wins most improved player, makes all defensive first team, leads the league in steals, finished 2nd in defensive player of the year voting just behind Evan Mobley.
And more than doubled his scoring to go along with it.
Yeah, incredible season by him. And then at mid-season, you trade DeAndre Hunter to the Cavs for Karis LeVert, George Niang, 3 second-rounders, and 2 pick swaps. Maybe you could have gotten more for DeAndre Hunter, but considering how injury-prone he is, like, I like getting off him at this time. It felt like a good move at the time. And also, like, as good as Hunter is, you had to make room. You have so many wings. Jalen Johnson, Risachet, they needed the minutes that he was taking. The Hawks again land in the play-in tournament, but this time failed to make the playoffs after losing on the road in Orlando and then losing at home versus Miami in overtime. So you missed the playoffs for the first time in a few seasons, but they did win more games this season. Finally had a season where they actually improved from the previous season. And I think they would have had more success if Jalen Johnson hadn't gone down with that injury. Like, he was having a borderline all-star level season. Yeah. I heard people saying like he deserved an all-star spot. Breakout season for him, and even despite the injury, his potential, sky's the limit.
Then this offseason, the Hawks were very busy. They landed Asa Newell in the 2025 NBA draft after trading with, guess who? The Pelicans. I mean, just they're killing it. So, this guy's going to end up being a star, right? Mm-hmm. Seems like a solid big man prospect, which, makes sense again because they let Clint Capella walk in the offseason. Also on draft night, they agreed to a deal with the Celtics to acquire Kristaps Porzingis in exchange for Niang and a 2nd-round pick. Celtics at this point, of course, they're just looking to cut salary. So, Niang and a 2nd-round pick for a guy like Porzingis, pretty solid pickup for the Hawks. And they also got Nickeil Alexander-Walker in a sign-and trade with the Timberwolves. So, like you said in the intro, only a couple years after they were dead in the water, basically, looked like they were going nowhere fast, they're out here making win-now trades. And with how wide open the Eastern Conference is this year with pretty much no defined favorite, like, they got a chance. So let's see how this roster fits together. And right off the bat, kind of reminded me of the Knicks last year. Just like in terms of how it's assembled. Like, you got your high-scoring point guard who's a bit undersized, defensive liability. You got a couple of two-way wings, really solid on defense, but can also score on the offensive end. You got a stretch big who's a bit of a defensive liability if he's in the wrong matchup. You got a young athletic center, although Okongwu and Mitchell play very different styles. You got your feisty, do-everything glue guy. And then also, just for the Hawks' sake, you throw in the number 1 pick from like last year. The Knicks don't have that, right? Knicks don't got that, but the Hawks got Risachet. So just like the Knicks, outside of their like top, 6 to 7 players, they don't have a whole lot. I mean, they brought in Luke Kennard to add some more shooting, but there isn't much else besides that. Luckily for them, though, they're not coached by Tibbs. Right. So they're not going to have their top 7 players getting ran into the ground and then be dead by the time the playoffs come around.
One thing that's going to be super interesting about this team is like what lineup they they run out, what starting lineup they got, because they are loaded at the wings, specifically at small forward. Maybe the best rotation in the NBA. Jalen Johnson, Reese Shea, and Dyson Daniels, who also can play small forward. He's listed shooting guard. He's going to spend most of his time there, but he's 6'8", so he can slot in if you have like Alexander Walker at shooting guard or Luke Kennard or whoever. Now Daniels, like, he's obviously going to start. He's going to be the guy next to Trae Young in the backcourt. The small forward position and potentially power forward, how they work that out. Jalen Johnson, I think for sure, you got to start him somewhere. Like I said, he had that borderline all-star level season. The question is, like, do you start Reese Shea as well? I saw some people projecting like Jalen Johnson as your power forward, Reese Shea at small forward, and then Okongwu probably at the center with Porzingis backing him up. I mean, Jalen Johnson, you know, a little bit undersized, 6'8" is your power forward, especially more teams moving towards, you know, the Twin Towers, but dude's got a 6'11" wingspan.
He does,
so
yeah.
I think you start all three of them, but regardless, like, so much flexibility with the lineups they can roll out. They can go double big, they can go small ball. It's really just the perfect collection around Trae Young.
Yeah, I mean, you could start Porzingis at the 4 too, if you really wanted to. I mean, look, Reese Shea, he was the #1 overall pick, so the organization might feel like a little bit of internal pressure, like, oh, you know, we spent the #1 pick on this guy, you know, we got to play him. But you also got to realize, like, he's so young, he can't legally drink in the United States right now. Like, he has got plenty of time to develop. So there are some other questions, like how are Porzingis and Okongwu going to fit together? Both can stretch the floor and both can score inside a little bit, but neither is like a dominant force offensively or defensively. They both have their moments, but it's going to be interesting to see how they both fit together. For me, though, the most interesting thing, it's the one remnant from the 2021 team that made the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, Trae Young has had such an interesting arc of a career. Like, he's kind of like the Sheamus of the NBA. Like, for anyone who doesn't know wrestling, Sheamus had some incredible accomplishments like early in his career. Like, he won the world title super early, wrestled, I think, Triple H at WrestleMania 26, like, had all these high profile matches. And then, like, for the next 10 years after that, like, everyone still recognized, like, oh, he's really good. Like, he's got a lot of talent. He's great, but he could just never quite recapture those lofty heights that he had early in his career. Now, if you follow wrestling, you'll know Sheamus had a big career renaissance in 2022 when he got the chance to work with the right guys that really played to his strength and he played to theirs. So could this be the same for Trae? Like, since that conference finals year, the Hawks have basically gotten worse every year. And that's kind of led to Trae having that reputation of, like, you know, a losing player, a guy who's clearly talented. I mean, you don't average 25 and 10 for your career by accident, but a guy who doesn't contribute to winning as much as the stats might say. I mean, LaMelo Ball's kind of got that rep. I remember back in the day, Kevin Love had that rep when he was playing in Minnesota, but this could be a great opportunity for Trae. Like, the roster, I would argue, is not as deep, but it has more talent than the one that went to the conference finals a couple years ago.
I mean, I love this roster around Tim. You got the perimeter guards to hide his weakness. He's always going to be picked out there because he's so tiny, such a bad defender, but you had the perfect players around him. You have centers, you know, that can shoot, big men that can shoot. Him and Porzingis in a pick and pop, that's going to be awesome to see. And then you have some depth off the bench. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard gives some more shooting. It's not a super deep bench, but I think come playoff time when you're running like 8 guys out there, 9 guys out there, I think it is the just perfect core around Trae. Like, outside of just having a super team, this is the best possible scenario for Trae. I think, you know, pressure's on him this season, to be honest, because
honestly,
if he doesn't get it done, if this team isn't successful, and if he's lacking a bit, or maybe his defense is dragging the team down, I think it's honestly, gonna be on him, but it's also such a big opportunity for a guy who's honestly kind of getting forgot about. Like, he's really not brought up much ever since that incredible Eastern Conference Finals run.
I mean, that's what 4 years of mediocrity candidly will do to you.
Not making the playoffs or going out early. But given how wide open the East is this year, like, they actually got a chance. Boston, Indiana, they're defanged. Cleveland, you know, they're probably still the favorites, but after going out in the second round, like, there's questions there. I know they were injured. I know Cavs fans, you were injured, but still there's questions. Bucks are desperate as hell. Knicks have a new head coach. Like, it's so open. You can't really trust Orlando yet. The Hawks, I think, they're the most dangerous team in the Eastern Conference, and credit to their front office. They've done an incredible job of building this roster around Trae.
Yeah, and I mean, Trae, they don't need to win the NBA championship, right? You know, that's not what we're saying. Like, that's not how we're going to define success or whatever, but you got gotta be, I would say, well clear of the play-in area. Like, you can't be hanging around that area for like the 5th straight year. I would agree with you. Like, this is about as good of a collection of players around Trae that both cover his weaknesses and play to his strengths. You know, the two bigs that can both either rim run or step out and hit threes off of pick and rolls. Like, we know how great of a distributor Trae Young is, and he's gonna be feeding those guys like crazy. You got the wing defenders, and you got Nickeil Alexander-Walker off the bench to cover for him as much as they can. Honestly, like, if things break right for the Hawks, I could see them as a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. And from there, like, you know, as the Pacers and the Heat and hell, the Hawks from back in the day have shown us, like, if you can get hot at the right time, anything can happen. That's the video, guys. What do you think the Atlanta Hawks are going to be this season? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.